Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Ever wanted a career in football? At the Global Institute of Sport, you can now study a master's degree in football business or football coaching and analysis right here in Australia. GIS is the largest provider of sports degrees in the UK, with campuses at Wembley and Etihad Stadium. Learn online with unique access to the iconic MCG and a big-hitting Australian industry network. Be one of the first Australians to get a football master's degree. Join GIS's global network of football leaders. Apply now to start in February 2023. Learn more at GIS.Sport/FNR. That's GIS.Sport/FNR.
Pickett, she lays it off Teresa Polias. It's an absolute peach. Ayres driving. What a hit from Melina Ayres. Wow. And Sam Kerr has a hat-trick.
And you know what? It's been a while. We went away. But much like the Dutch season, we do come back. It feels like a long time, but we come back. And when we come back, Lachie, I feel like it's always important to bring back amazing guests. You know, sometimes you can bring new guests and you can make new friends, yeah?
Well, I'm pretty sure last time this show took a break after the first A-League women's season of its existence, and returned as like an NPL Victoria specialised show. The person we had to mark that occasion was, well, if my memory serves me correctly, the very same person we're about to.
I think you might be correct. And you know what?
Speak to you now.
Friend of the show.
I think we can call her.
I think we can call her friend of the show. She also said we could call her Franny. Also
we cleared that before we went to air. Yes. That.
Also known as Francesca Iermano. Francesca, welcome back to the show. And how does it feel to be officially an A-League women's player?
Oh yeah, it's unreal. I think I've always said when I was like younger, I was like, oh, you know, like it'd be like so cool to, you know, be like one of those girls that get to play W League, and then you're one of those girls and you're like, where did the time go? What happened? I think last time I was on the show, I said I was always in and out of W League teams, train-ons, injury replacement. So to be a pro on a pro contract from the start, it's just like, yeah, it's still unreal, to be honest. So yeah. It's really good, and it's always a pleasure to be back on the show. So thanks for having me, guys.
No, Franny, friend of the show. Number one friend of the show status at the moment. But not only did you have the first game for Western United, but you had a tough matchup on the weekend, and you actually throughout the game you just like seemed to grow into so much more confident. You were getting forward because if a lot of people watch the NPL, we saw you getting forward a lot. And when I saw the lineup, I was like, oh, I forget that Franny's a defender because she gets forward so often. Were you intimidated by the matchup, and how did you feel you went in that first game?
Yeah, I think, look, it was, we're versing the defending champions. It's my old team. A lot of nerves, a lot of excitement, but I think we were so good coming into the game on what we expected. Like, we already knew. So for me, like being a versatile player anyway, I know that like at any point I'm going to be thrown in to a position where I'm going to play somewhere that I might have not had the prep for. So yeah, like I know that as long as kind of the coaches go, you have full, our full, I guess, I don't know what the word is. Like, I think you can have your full freedom to go forward as a defender. But just get back. So look, it goes hand in hand. It's go forward all you want, but you know, you have to come back if you do that. You don't have the luxury of two lines being behind you as an attacker. So yeah, it was good. But yeah, exactly as you said, as the game just kept going, I just found my confidence, found the rhythm, and I just said, this is just like any other game. So take it from there.
Well, we will talk more about the historic result, the historic experience for you of playing against against your former club in a game like that. But I want to go a few steps further, because the other thing I'm just remembering now about the last time we would have had you on is the other guest. And maybe this is just maybe it's something we orchestrated without realising it. Maybe it's just a weird twist of fate, a kismet thing. But the other guest we had on that show was Mark Torcaso, who then was just a Calder United coach. I think he might have just been confirmed as the Western United coach. And before too long, he'd dragged you along with him. Tell us a little bit about the process of how you came to become a Western United player, because we had a feeling, I mean, as one of our friends of the show, we had a hope that we might see you there, but we don't know how it happened. So tell us.
Look, I think the way that I knew Western was going to be from the people in the club, I already knew of Amanda. Obviously I knew Mark, and I knew majority of the girls. I played with them prior, or when I was younger, or even, this season, or etc. I think it was a massive decision, and I think the main factor for me was you're about to be part of something that's never going to happen again, and you're going to be a part of a club where everyone has been working so hard to get to the point that they are. Western got their men's team 3 years ago, and then they wanted the women's team back then. It's not just like it didn't happen overnight. It was 3 years of hard work, persistence, a little bit of, downfalls. And then, like we said, COVID hit, and obstacles after obstacles. And I said, that sounds like my journey. So let me be a part of a team that knows what it feels like and has gone through it. And especially with the girls, success just feels that much better when it's been with people that have kind of struggled or have had those roadblocks, like I said. I guess playing that first ever game and being part of the first ever team, and they just went on about, you're going to, it's the first this and the first that. And we say the word history like lightly, but it's not. It's actually 10 years time, that's that first ever team in the W League. So I just couldn't wait to be a part of it, to be honest. And I knew that the people that were there were going to back me 100%. So
I think you spoke a little bit about this just in your previous answer, but is the sense of belonging so important about that club? Because when I look at like the Western and I hear people talk about it, it
feels like a lot of people resonate with that kind of story. And just so united, and you're a group that's sticking together through the thick times. Because obviously in football teams, there's always team unity, but there's like a different level of Western. Is that something that's drew you even more? Because obviously, you're at FE emerging and you were training with like a lot of the Western girls, but was that like what made you like, I need to sign like even quicker than before?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think, like we said, these girls, and I said it even 2 weeks in preseason, it feels like these girls have been together, all of us, for 4 years, to be honest. Like, we were in the 2 week mark and I was like, all we need to do is start figuring out how each other plays. But the team culture, the team environment, the team bonding, like that stuff's on another level. I think that's one of the top teams that I've been in, where, like we said, there was already the Calder girls that, there's already 8 of them that already had that massive bond, and just everyone else slipping into something that was already created that they took, a long time to make really special. We just fit in perfectly from there too. So, like I said, I played with a lot of the girls when I was younger, or, presently and stuff like that. And they are great bunch of girls. Everyone really, really cares about each other. And it's a sense of, that person might be making the starting 11 over you, and you would still feel so good for them. And, you would match yourself up against them and just say, look, that's where I need to be. But otherwise, everyone's always happy for each other, no matter what the starting is or who's in it, and who's traveling and who's not. It's just, this is the 20 plus girls we have, and we're going to do something no matter if you're a train-on or pro or scholarship or anything else. So, yeah, for sure.
Well, it kind of makes sense at the very least with the sort of Victorian players and like what we like to call the Calder core, because even if you haven't played together or you don't know one another, you usually know of one another. Like, it's a pretty, I'm sure you'd be aware, it's a pretty tight-knit circle. But what of the American players who have come in? How have they settled? I mean, we saw them all play pretty well on the weekend as well. How have you found them?
Yeah, they're awesome, to be honest. I think from the likes of having Jess, she is incredible. I think I'm in between. Everyone says you got the best seat in the house in the locker room. I'm in between Chloe and Jess.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got two superstars next to me. And I'll never forget, I walked in the first day, Jess came in. She's like a, two-time champion. And I literally said to her, I'm so sorry, but I take up so much space. So just letting you know. And she goes, at least you told me, to be honest. So now that's what we're going to do. They're great. They're really good. Even Jackie, our Canadian, Philippine international, our captain now, they're really, really awesome. And they just bring some other type of, experience. I think, in the NWSL or in America overseas, it's a completely different league, and they come in here and they just make everyone raise to that standard. But they're enjoying it as well, and we all have a laugh. So they fit in just exactly like anyone from Victoria would have, where you already knew each other. But yeah, really, really great girls. So, yeah.
And that first game would have been momentous enough just with the sort of general narrative, but especially so, I guess, for you being this sort of meeting of two worlds, the place where you got this run, you got a medal as we discovered last time, with Victory. How did you feel about the prospect of facing that squad? Because it was a very tight-knit group. It was a group with whom you were, pretty tight-knit as well. It must have been, I'm sure you're no stranger to playing against, players who you're friends with and that kind of thing, but it would have been, I'm sure there would have been a bit of a challenge on some level, surely.
Yeah, I think, we talk about the pros, and the pros was, okay, well, I've trained every bit with these girls. I know exactly who's going to do what, and, what their weak sides are and what their good sides are. And I guess that I could filter that into training to then say, okay, look, let's look at it on this side, because I know that this person will, let's say, for instance, play to the right side every single time.
So is that why Mark's brought you in? You're like the spy. You just give us all the intel. And if you can play well, that's a bonus as well.
Yeah, but look, it was awesome to see the Victory girls again too. Like they were also a great bunch of girls. So I think, just like I said, predominantly it's I knew these girls, I knew what they were going to do, and I think that's kind of given me the upper hand in being able to recognize stuff early, or maybe something from even the Americans in the league that, don't even know the league, let alone the girls. It felt like I was actually the one that had the experience in that point. So yeah, it was good for me, and it was great, from a confidence side as well, to be able to give a bit of information on it and stuff. So
you played so well that I think the Western, I don't know if it's the active squad, I don't know what their name is, but I think they gave you player of the match. I think I saw that on social media. Is that correct?
Yeah, they did.
Hey, come on, that's got to be a good feeling. First game, and you're the active squad. They're like, that's our player. Do they have a song for you?
Yeah, they do. They have a song. Our Western supporter group is honestly they are unreal. The amount of effort and just everything behind the scenes, they care so much. And again, I guess even back to, one of the earlier questions you guys asked me on what made me want to come over. It's little things like this. Our active supporters have gone out, made a song for every single player. They're there every single game. They're supporting us from behind the scenes. It's on a new level. So yeah, they do have a song for me. I will not sing it.
See, you got ahead of our question. You clearly understand this interview caper well enough to know what was going to follow.
I knew it was coming up. So no, but massive shout out to them too, because they are awesome, and they're just as part of the club as anyone else. So.
And no, those active supports, they're a lot of fun. They're small, but they're loud. Even you go to the LE men's games, they're small, but they make a lot of noise. And I'm excited to get down there and see them this season.
I mean, the noise through from watching it. It was a great crowd at City Vista.
Oh yeah, it was unreal. It's funny because when they set the attendance, when you're on the field and when it's spread out like that, you don't feel like it was in the thousands. Let alone nearly hitting 3. So, yeah, it was like on the field, you don't even recognize anything. Like it's just pure ball and the other 10 players around you. But yeah, I think it's even in the Wellington game, we've got 5K attendance. Women's football is growing and everyone wants to get around and everyone loves to see it. So it just made it that extra bit special for us.
There may well be some things like the scale of the crowd that you don't notice on the pitch, but I am sure you would have been well aware of one of the things that was pretty prominent throughout the whole of the game, which was the wind.
Oh, man.
The wind was crazy. I remember there was one cutaway. I don't know if you've watched back the game, but there was one cutaway of yourself trying to take a throw in, and clearly the wind was just like not working. You could see it in your face that you were like communicating non-verbally, like, guys, whatever you want from this throw, it's not happening.
It's not happening.
And that's exactly what I was thinking, to be honest. I remember that one exactly right. And I think it was Hannah that wanted it on her head. And I was like, it is just not happening. Like I have
Not
to,
today,
someone's going to
not
have to come right at me and I'm going to have to play to feed, or this ball is going everywhere. But it was not the best conditions, to be honest. I think in saying that, we're about to travel to one of the windiest cities in New Zealand. So maybe it was a bit of preparation for Saturday. But it was a massive factor. I think there was even a point where I think Alana Cern tried to clear it and it went out and the ball actually came back onto the pitch.
I remember. I looked away for half a second and I was like, oh, someone must have just brought it back into play. I was like, oh no, that's just the wind. Okay, cool.
There was one, I can't remember who was playing it, but they were trying to, I think they were setting it up for a free kick and the ball just spun right back around and just did a U-turn and said, not today. But you know the only player that I swear was beating through the wind was Jess McDonald with her long throws. She has cannons for arms. I need to understand how she does this, because that's what, I don't understand how she did it, because she was the only person who was like, don't try me today, wind. I've got you beat.
Me and you both. I was looking at her like, how are you doing that? Take him. I just said, just you know what? Just take him, because the wind's obviously on your side, Jess. So yeah, she's unreal, but she's unreal in any factor, whether it's throw-ins or sprints or anything. She's someone that I cannot wait to just get as much kind of info and stuff off. So she's unreal.
And chiefly unreal in the context of this game, because she did score such a momentous goal, the first for Western United, the only in this game, the one that delivered the win for you. Where were you in the build up of that goal? How did you see it, and what was running through your head up to the moment that it went in? You can touch on the afters as well if you like.
Well, to be honest, like when the ball came back to, I think it was either Age or Mel. Honestly, I knew that she was gonna, with the wind, I've seen her deliver some insane balls into the box from the exact like part of the pitch. As soon as she delivered that, as soon as Hannah even got on it, I said I was 100% that Hannah's gonna finish it.
My fantasy team thought Hannah was gonna score. I needed Hannah to score for my fantasy team.
Whereas my fantasy team was very happy that Jess scored. So that was
I needed Hannah to score.
I was like, Hannah, with a ball like that and Hannah just being a clinical finisher, I'm like, this is a goal. But as soon as I came back and I saw Jess on the end of it, honestly, I was already starting to creep up to start celebrating. You get a bit of FOMO in the back line, not going to lie. You do have to do a 30-metre sprint to even celebrate. So, yeah, I think after it and Jess's celebration, you know, she did the big W. She went straight to the active supporters. I think that was special to her. That was special to everyone. So, definitely big celebrations after, big celebrations in the change room. It was a whole day till this week thing, to be honest. I think about Tuesday when we started doing tactical for Wellington, we were like, all right, on to the next.
Have to put that one to the side now. Yeah, that's
all right. For sure.
Yeah. Look, it was a fantastic day. I think even the most begrudging of Victory fans would have to be like, nah, this is still so nice. Still pretty cool. The other moment that, particularly for those of us, I know Pokuah in particular, of an NPL Victoria slant, as good as
Not
the
to
win
bias,
itself,
Lachie, let's be honest,
as good as the win itself was, for people of that sort of background, the best moment of the day was when Alex Sinclair got to come on and get her her bow as an A-League women's player. Now, as far as I know, you haven't played with her before, but I'm under no illusion that you would know of her and be very familiar with her her work. What have you made of her as a player before sort of being a teammate of hers, and how much of that sort of hype that she builds around herself has she delivered on since you've sort of gotten to play alongside her?
Yeah, look, I think as a player, she, in the NPL world, she was just always someone that just kept persisting and she was just so consistent, just back to back. It was always watch Alex Sinclair. If she gets on the end of it, she will finish it. She's a clinical finisher too, and she's an absolute workhorse. And she's brought that exact thing to Western as well. As a person, she is one of the probably best people I've ever met. She is just so caring to everyone, and even before I was officially at Western, she just got around me so much, and she was just she wanted to make it before I even got there, I was already part of the family. She's definitely, and from the crowd and everyone being so proud of her too, you just know she's just one of the most genuine people. She is just a clear example that it does not matter what age, how long you've been playing, where you've been playing, anything's possible. And even I kind of nearly teared up when she came on, because I know how much it meant to her. So just being able to kind of share that with her, it's a real family moment. Like I said, doesn't matter how long you play and everything, you just care so much about everyone around you. So for her to get on, like I said, I just knew how much it meant to her. And she played the 20, and she was, like I said, she was just a workhorse. She just runs until the whistle goes, and the extra time, everything, it was 1-0. It was a dangerous scoreline when she came on, and she did her job. So I just think she's a massive inspiration for anyone that is maybe in that awkward stage where they might have not been in a train-on environment or a W League environment, and they kind of just want to give up. She's older than all of us as a fact, but she works like she's fresh off of being a teenager. So I'm so happy for her, and as you can tell, I can't stop talking about her. No, but so it was really great.
It honestly probably was one of my favorite moments from the weekend, because it just is it's just wholesome. It's what I love. It's what I love about
if there was anyone out there who didn't already know Alex and didn't enjoy that, I was sorry, you just hate life. If you weren't happy for her, you just hate life.
You hate life because
you're not up with it.
Yeah,
you need to get with the program.
You need to get with the program. But no, it was a really incredible moment. And what's it like, because when we've had Alex on the show, we've had a lot, honestly. We've had a lot of Western.
We have.
Unofficially and officially at the time when we had them.
When they were in the hybrid phase.
Phase of, are we going to be playing for Western? But she spoke about how her and Mark have that same, they're the older ones, they have that music taste. And then there's the younger ones who, no idea what they're doing. But now obviously we've got Chloe in there, Jess in there. Are they kind of winning the music battle at the moment? Are they getting to change up the tunes, or is it still the kids have got control?
Oh no, kids have got control. To be honest, Stacey Papa, she's designated phone. That's it, playing it.
Yeah.
And it's there's the oldies too. We have Jess cranking it up every 3 songs too. So don't worry, everyone. But it's still the youngies, as we like to call them.
No. See, this is what I respect. I need to know. I feel like you guys need to do an official Spotify playlist. I think that's what Western needs to do as part of their socials team, and have a song.
We definitely have one. I don't know if it's
it needs to be public.
It's not on public.
Come on, it needs to be public. We need to know what it is.
I added it straight to my personal.
Yep.
And I was like, you know what? This is a good mix of our our Cuff It by Beyonce with our Promiscuous from Smelly. Like, we've got it all going on here. This
is why these group of girls are my favourite, because every time they come on, they say the right things. We had Mel talking about Eve, and I was like, that's it, Mel, you understand. Now we've got Franny here talking about Cuff It from... Come on, Lachie, you don't understand.
Well, no, I'm just noting that I feel like the show becomes less and less a football show. It's just more like rage sometimes. Of course. It gets to a point in the show where Pokuah's like, I'm a music critic now. Exactly. We're just that's going to be our thing.
It's about the music.
Oh, we're in at 6 a.m. with tunes pumping. It's honestly, there's no quiet time around here. Exactly. So if anyone's half asleep, trust me, as soon as they walk in, something will definitely be hitting them.
Exactly. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I feel like we need, this energy from all A-League Women's Club. Because obviously I have the motto of dress well, coach well, play well. I think it also should be good music, think well, you play well. it's correlation.
Oh, the tunes are pumping in the gym too. Don't worry, we can't go 5 seconds without any music. So
exactly.
So I'm wondering then if that's going to make for some noisy plane journeys potentially, like you guys just strolling through the international airport. The Yui booms are already going, like that kid on the public transport who's playing their speaker. You're like, bloody hell.
No, not bloody hell though. They got good music.
But well, let's talk. That's fine. But let's talk a little bit about the away trips, because you have kind of got two. In succession, starting with, as you mentioned before, the biggest one against Wellington. Is it almost like the perfect time to have this kind of trip for a fresh squad? Like, it is a challenging one, obviously, but through that challenge, it's probably the one that brings you closest together. I imagine there'll be some initiations too at some stage. How are you feeling about it?
Look, I think. It's an international trip as well. It's a different process. I think we are very, very excited. Like, we've never had an international trip in the A-League. So already there we're already G'd up. But I think it's going to have to be that people need to adjust really, really fast. There's number one, there's a time difference, the flight time's long, all those little factors, like how are you going to prepare under the circumstances? Like, and we can have our Adelaide trips and our Canberra trips, 1.5 hours. But for a 4-hour trip with a massive time difference, I think people are a little bit nervous. I think, like I said, it's always good to be a bit nervous. But I think we all just are way too excited to kind of actually process that we're actually going to play on Saturday. But, we're flying out early tomorrow morning. We're going to, be able to adjust pretty quickly, and then we have Sunday morning. But to be honest, I feel as if it's just like any other game. Like I said, the only thing that needs to hold off is the wind. I already checked the reports and it's not looking good. But I think, like I said, we've already been conditioned to the wind here, and it's just going to be a whole nother, like I said, another first time. It's our first international trip, and we haven't played a team like Wellington. In Wellington, I played with Wellington against Victory last year, and everything was rearranged because of COVID. So I think all around it's excitement. My God, sometimes I just talk my own tongue off, but I can't even get words together.
It's okay. It's all right. We won't ask you about Alex Sinclair again.
That's where my voice went, to be honest.
Exactly. So it's the first away trip of the season. That does usually mean some sort of initiation, welcome to the club kind of thing. Is that, Can we expect that this weekend for your group?
I've been trying to not act like I know about initiations, and I'm hoping everyone else just forgets about initiation. But I reckon we've definitely, especially with our leadership group, and Jackie is an absolute, she's a laugh as well. So I think she will definitely have that up her sleeve and just spring it on everyone.
Okay. Well,
if we do have one, I'm going to have to start thinking about it on the plane ride. So need to be prepared.
Is there one, I mean, you've already dropped some tracks that Pokuah approves of. Is there one that springs to mind? Could you, I know you won't do it on the show, could you sing your own chant? Is that something that'll happen?
So good. That would be so good.
Oh, I think, no, that's not allowed. No, we sing our own chants, or we sing someone else's chants in the change room.
That's good.
Like, I will literally be like, especially TJ's. Yeah. Hers is, Monday, Tuesday, Tyler J. And I'll randomly just sing that in the change room. So no, that's not initiation because we already do that.
See, that's the sign of a good club culture. We don't want to sing our own songs. We're not here for us.
Yeah.
If someone starts ahead of us, we're happy for them. We're going to be chanting their song instead of ours.
No. And we know them all too, don't worry. We know everyone else's chant, so we're prepared at all times.
No, I think they are on YouTube because I've seen them. I think they popped up. So I might learn the words, and next time we have a player on, and next time we have you on, Franny, maybe we'll intro the show with your theme music because I'm sure we'll have you on.
It was to the point that in the practice game they sung it, and I'm a pretty serious player. Like there's nothing that can really break me on the field. And I actually laughed. Like I was just like, this is so funny. And everyone after was like, did you hear your chant? Did you hear your chant? I'm like, I loved it. So they've really, like I said, the Western supporter group has really just outdone themselves on those ones. So
yeah, well, they're great active support, and we love active support in the dub, and get around the dub this weekend. Some really good games ahead. But Franny, thank you for joining us on the show. Number one friend of the show status at the moment. I don't think you'll get that taken away from you.
Pokuah keeps a power ranking, and you're at the top of the moment.
And I'm number one. No one's coming for me. That's what I like to feel.
Exactly. So thank you for joining us, and we'll head to a break and we'll be back.
Ever wanted a career in football? At the Global Institute of Sport, you can now study a master's degree in football business or football coaching and analysis right here in Australia. GIS is the largest provider of sports degrees in the UK, with campuses at Wembley and Etihad Stadium. Learn online with unique access to the iconic MCG and a big-hitting Australian industry network. Be one of the first Australians to get a football master's degree and join GIS's global network of football leaders. Apply now to start in February 2023. Learn more at GIS.Sport/FNR. That's GIS.Sport/FNR.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Since 1998, Lanco Group has been providing superior civil engineering solutions and advice to developers, local government and service authorities across Australia. Lanco Group is known for delivering sustainable, efficient solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
She lays it off Teresa Polias. It's an absolute peach. Is driving. What a hit from Melina Reyes. Wow. And Sam Kerr has a hat-trick. Beat him up. 1-0.
And we're back for the final time tonight after speaking to number one friend of the show, Francesca Iermano, but Francesca leaves
I feel
us.
like best friend of the show is right there,
but
and
like-
you choose not to use it.
No, but I don't want to put that on her if she doesn't feel the same way about the show.
Okay. That's true.
We'll ask.
I mean, number one friend of the show is still a pretty big commitment, and she was willing to take that
I don't
pretty
wanna- I don't want
happily.
to put that on her. She's got a lot to focus on. And Francesca leaves.
Also, what's he doing here? Yeah.
Well, if you let me do my intro, I was going to start. I was going, Francesca leaves, and then Oscar comes to replace.
Sorry.
But you guys wouldn't let me do that on my show.
He's just making me uncomfortable.
So, yeah, but no, it's we're back for the final little bits, and we thought if the dub season started, it's kind of important. Maybe let's just talk about the games. That'd probably help. Obviously, we are a show that focuses on the players, for the players, by the players. I'm kidding. I'm so kidding.
Just trying to work out the mental gymnastics.
I just always wanted to say that line.
Who amongst us is the players?
I'm so kidding.
I've seen Pokuah do a crossbar challenge, so
that was
maybe.
alright.
True.
No,
I've never seen Oscar play a sport.
No.
I've heard he's quite good at darts, but I don't think that translates to football.
No, I've heard he's good at lacrosse. He would fit his.
The darts was not a joke. Oscar is genuinely a wizard.
I like that.
That was a good reference.
That's good.
Real darts players will know. The real cross niche of A-League women's supporters and darts enjoyers.
Oscar's good at squash.
They're in this room.
Anything you play at a elite, what are those country clubs? Oscar's good at. Oscar grew up there, so he's really good at those.
Okay, we have to stop the self-indulgent broadcasting.
No,
We've got to talk about what the people want.
But it's for the players by people who wanted to hear their stories. I haven't worked that into a nice little thing, but that's what I'm saying. For the players, by the players. I feel like
Surely
players
it's for the people who wanted to hear those players' stories as well, though. Aren't they part of this?
Yeah, no, but like this is our show.
It's true.
Well, our show.
It's Pokuah's show.
I am.
I mean, you saw how she reacted when we cut her off during our own intro.
I'm just
back
saying,
from the show.
I want to intro this. You see what's happened? We've spiraled. But no, we should talk
We
about
cut her off.
I can't
seriously.
I can't believe I'm saying this. Can we talk about the football, please?
Talk about the football. But no, we should go over the games. Let's start with Oscar or Lachie. Who should we start with? Let's go with you, Lachie. You enjoyed the highlights and the game of Canberra versus Perth Glory.
I did.
Take
yeah.
us through that. What did you see?
Well, it was another classic between Canberra United and Perth. I don't know what the magic formula is, whether there's something in the water, but every time, at least recently, when these two sides play, special things seem to happen, and that's certainly the way this game went. It was an end-to-end. I guess goal fest. Does four goals classify as a goal fest? Yeah, if it's a two-all draw, I think we'll count it. I thought Canberra were a bit unlucky in this game, to be honest. I thought they probably created more of the chances, but ultimately profligacy, it did hurt them. Nikki Flannery, obviously coming back from her ACL, I thought was fantastic. She had a couple of good chances that she should have scored, including that one in the first half where it, I think, struck the post. That Sarah Langman might have had it covered, even if it was on target, but she still went close. Grace Maher was brilliant.
Grace Charlie scored, I heard.
Grace Charlie obviously scored, but Grace Maher, I think, was probably the standout player on the day. She really, really bossed things in the middle of the park, and of course there was a dream debut as well for Vesna Milivojevic.
And also another dream debut for Taryn Hetto, who did a good job.
She did do an excellent job, and you could hear her excitement across all of the goals, but particularly that Milivojevic strike, which was just so nice. Like, it was such a sweeping move, a great counter attack from Canberra. I think it was Grace Maher who played her the pass, and she lets it come across her body and then strikes it pretty sweetly. And yeah, I thought Canberra would come away from this game feeling a bit disappointed that they didn't take more out of it, but yeah, Perth had some pretty good moments, particularly after the introduction of Sierra Hinson.
So how did the number one captain of the dress well, coach well, play well society go?
Alex Abakis?
Yes.
I assume you mean.
Him and his vice.
Well, I actually didn't see any shots of him on the sideline. So I don't know how well he was going in the sartorial game. I assume fairly well, as he often does. I think he did reasonably. I mean, I guess if he was here right now, I'd probably just ask him, why didn't Sarah Hinton start? Because she was one of their standout players last year. Obviously, I think she was their leading goal scorer, and the minute she made...
the shoes, Oscar, when you're searching about...
The minute she made her way onto the pitch, things did shift. Perth became a bit more functional in attack, and it was her who got the assist, I'm pretty sure, for Gabriella Coleman's first goal on Perth debut. So, yeah, there could have been more goals, but I was pretty happy with how it was as a contest. It ebbed and flowed, but I think ultimately Canberra will come away the side slightly more disappointed to only get a point from the game.
Oscar, did you see much of that game?
Look, I won't pretend to have seen it in great detail.
No, that's okay.
I will say that I think that, based on what I did see and based on Lachie's analysis and discussion of the game, I think that this is the kind of game that Canberra will take a lot out of, and that Canberra can perhaps hope to see more of throughout the season, because coming up against a well-coached team like Perth Glory, where they don't have the same... we know that lots of these teams aren't particularly well-resourced, but Canberra in particular with the young side, with kind of that rebuild, new coach, new approach, I think that there were lots of positives to take from the game. And if you've got young, promising players who are being allowed to shine and are having good games, then the nature of that kind of squad is that it won't happen every single week. But I think that these kinds of positives, even though they didn't end up taking all 3 points, albeit they should have, I think that this is the kind of role model performance that Canberra will look to emulate throughout the season.
I think, for Canberra, it's about starting this season strong and continue that form they had from the end of last season. Because last season they finished really well. They really struggled at the start, but getting off to a really strong start this season is important for their season, especially if it's a longer season as well. Well,
and I think what will give them hope is to have, a player like Nikki Flannery to add her back in. Obviously, when someone's returning from such a big injury, you're not expecting them to necessarily hit the ground running. And for sure, there was some rustiness, particularly with the finishing. But in terms of her general play, she was really good. And you look over the side and, with the two Graces, who were both good performers, Michelle Heyman further afield and Nikki Flannery, there's some decent talents to, get good results this season potentially.
And I think to score 2 goals without needing Michelle Heyman to score either of them is also a good thing to take away for them. Just the spreading out those goals and not being so reliant on a player like Michelle Heyman, because that is what we've seen a lot. And
she's very close to that record, or I can't remember exactly what record it is, but she's very close to it. And
she's been close to quite a few records.
There is one that she's particularly close to. My brain has just escaped me. But the other 3 p.m. kickoff on Saturday was the Raw Jets game, which a lot of fun, a lot of action, few goals disallowed, but for Brisbane getting out on top, and I think they'd be maybe a little bit disappointed they didn't finish with a bigger goal line. Well, they did have a few goals disallowed, so but it was a very entertaining game, and for the Jets, we just keep on moving up.
Well, for the Raw, first and foremost, I think a wonderful precedent to set where they've actually scored the chances that they've created, because we know that was...
They were a frustrating side last season. When you watched the Raw and you saw where they finished at the end of the season, you're like, that's so weird that they're here, because they're actually a very competitive team. They have these 15-minute blocks where they just seem to fade and they lose concentration, and then the teams capitalize. But they've really they continuing from last season and beating the Jets.
Yeah, I think that it's important for the mentality and for the vibe of the squad that they have this kind of experience to lean on moving forward, because you don't want to get back into that cycle of feeling like no matter how many chances you create, you're not going to score enough to get results on a consistent basis. I think the other thing that I took away from this game was that the Raw got a win despite the fact that obviously Katrina Gorry's not there and won't be there for a reasonably long time. Which is just a huge loss for them. Such a huge blow.
Even though in past seasons the season's been shorter, so it's been really, really important to get off to a good start. And maybe this season gives you a little bit more cover in terms of how to start slow. It is still really important with such a long season. You need to have a bank of points. If you later down the track, your team starts to get fatigued with the extended season. So for sides like Brisbane who are wanting to push into that finals like race, beating sides like Jets who maybe this season is not the season they're going to get into finals. It's really
not on the basis of some of the defensive play we saw, particularly for the opening goal.
It's important for them to beat the teams they are. Not that anyone's an easy beat or that, but it's just when you have the.
Well, you got to knock away the teams.
On paper, if you're a stronger team, you need to beat those teams and get your season moving at a good pace.
Well, the promising thing for me, just quickly, I mean, I want to float a theory. We didn't get a chance to do a preview for Radio Dub of the season.
Do previews on Radio Dub?
Well, I have. That's true. Or more or a reaction. We don't come in the first week before something. I mean, what is this show if not characterized by impact? It doesn't predict. It reacts.
Absolutely.
It is not a proactive show. It is a reactive show.
We do what the fans
That's why we started when it became NPLW in the off season, Victoria. We didn't go from the start. We didn't have an episode where we were like, so what are Boleyn up to? What transfers have they made? We were like, no, we're starting from round 6.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you can leave. And that's not a great method for listenership sometimes. But no, I think for the most part, our brand it resonates. But anyway, I'm getting off the
a problematic metaphor in the context of Australian football. To be.
I'm getting off the beaten track. One thing I would have floated though is how do we rate Larissa Crummer's chances of potentially featuring towards the pointy end of a golden boot race, perhaps? I think
she's up there.
Yeah.
I think in this side where everything kind of filters through her, and even they're like when they play out wide, they always find a way to have her involved, and she's okay to go deeper and get the ball and bring it up. I think she is up there. I don't know if she'll get enough goals. I don't know if Brisbane will score enough goals, but she's up there. Hannah Wilkinson's actually. She's not playing at the moment.
No, but once she comes back,
she'll be a threat. The girls down in Adelaide are always a threat. So it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be, even though last season was pretty tight with the Golden Boot race, I think it might be tighter with a few more players involved with the length of the season.
Well, you talk about the Brisbane players going out of their way to get it to her. I felt like the goal that she did score was a very good example of that. Because Shay Connors obviously makes this great run down the right, and she passes it into Hecka, who very easily could have shot, but she was like, "No, let's play it across and play it forwards to Crummer, who basically was given an empty net."
And could this make Larissa Crummer the first ever Golden Boot winner to play at fullback in a World Cup?
Might be.
Just a thought.
A horrifying thought, but a thought nonetheless.
Versatility is really
scarily realistic thought.
Versatility is important in the Matilda side, and we like versatility. And the other 3 p.m. kickoff, which I did, Victory, Western United, great game on the field. Not a great game for me off doing the comms, but we move, and to the fans on social media who love a bit of hate, some of your stuff was funny, but also let's relax on social media. It's a bit intense sometimes. But the game, Western United, Melbourne Victory, a lot of fun. First win for Western United. What are your thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I mean, I had great fun watching this game. I was doing a bit of watching it through Dubzone, but it was, I think, the overwhelming thing for me about this game, because I do think it was characterised in some way by the conditions. The wind clearly was making it very hard to construct attacking moves of much coherence for either side, really. I think Western probably just edged it where attacking chances are concerned, particularly inside sort of taking the lead at least, but not by any clear margin. But what the big thing was for me after the goal, which obviously was the big moment, but the Calder identity, like I guess we have to stop calling it Calder identity and call it for what it is, because it's transferred from Calder to West.
Identity.
Well, it's Talksball. It's Talksball. And we saw it, I think, ingrain itself into this side and subsequently into this league with success so quickly, because once Western United had the lead, as we've seen Mark Torcaso sides do before, they're not not willing at all to cough up that lead. And yeah, they gave away a few good chances. Alex Chidiac probably should have scored an equalising goal. But for the most part, the Torcazo system functioned really effectively against the reigning champions of this competition. And it was as big a statement win on your opening day that I think you could possibly have. And the rest of the league may well be on notice after what happened on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely a fair summation of it. It is obviously complicated by the two facts that you did allude to, the first being the conditions. I'm really interested to see whether that holds up, kind of where if, for example, the conditions are such that their opposition can more effectively actually play football, whether that maintains, that pattern holds up, which it very may well do. But for me, that's the interesting thing to observe over the next few weeks.
No, but I get the thing about the wind, and the wind was obviously a really, really big factor. But I just think the Western played better, and they adapted better. Because if you watch that game, it looked like a lot for Victory at the start. They were going down that side with Beattie and Alex Chidiac, and they were going down that side, really going after Francesca Iermano, and that was a lot of their actions were coming through that side, and they didn't really diversify a lot of their movements. So it seemed like once Western adapted to that, and the likes of Hannah Keane and Jess McDonald really got into the game, they played some really nice link-up play between the two.
And that's kind of where I was going to go with my second point, though, was to say something about, I don't think any of us are disputing that Victory did not play to the standard that we expected them to play at, and nor is it the standard that I think any of us expect them to play moving forward. No. So, that was coherent. I don't believe that, for example, Victory will put out another performance or more than a couple of performances that poor again this season, which just adds another layer of wait and see to the way that Western United were able. Would that defence, or would the way that they played, Sorry, I'm really struggling with my sentences here. The way they played, which did effectively nullify what Victory were doing, will that hold up against more coherent opposition moving forward, which we would expect Victory to be, but they weren't on the weekend?
If you look at the Victory lineup, there's like at least 6 players in that lineup that were not there last season, or were not playing consistently. Yeah. Like Melina Ayres up front, she did not play until the final series. Beattie was not there last season. Elise Callan-Knight wasn't there last season. Nat Tatham wasn't there. Callum Morrison was not there through the entire season, and Jessica Nash wasn't there. So there is a lot of change that's happening within this group, and a lot of players who have to adapt and understand the Jeff Hopkins system, which is a simple system, but also a complex system. It can take time to learn.
Well, and again, going back to our pre-season musings, off air, obviously, because this is not a proactive podcast; it's a reactive podcast. Maybe this is where the opening sort of month or so of the season, where we do see Western United get that sort of inherent advantage, because yes, there's a lot of new players, but there is this core who not only have they been teammates for a very long time, but they've been teammates under this system specifically for a very long time, while other sides have got a core but are dealing with a lot of fluctuations and a lot of adjustments to their squad. And Wellington have certainly got some new players that are going to throw some hairy moments up for them too, I think. This week.
I think for Western, for a side like Western, I think the early part of the season is going to... I don't think Mark Torcaso would say that he expects his team to be in full gear till maybe round 4 or round 5, just to fully adapt. But the early parts of this season, they are going to have the advantage of just really understanding each other. Time that a lot of people take to bond, to get to know each other, they've got most of that sorted, and it's just some big characters still to be incorporated into the system. But I'm more concerned to see how they go long-term throughout the season, because they've been playing for a long time. A lot of these players just have not stopped playing football throughout the whole year. So how will that affect them? Because they played into the finals. They didn't just play the season and then...
And also, they had a terrible start to last year as well. Yeah. We know this team doesn't need to finish top of the table to win it all. Like that, they were sort of having these defensive issues for such a long time. They signed Brooke Hendricks and they go on to win the grand final, but they snuck in. Like they nearly didn't make the final. So we don't need them to be a top one side, and so blips like this will be okay.
Yeah, exactly. So let's move on to Sunday, because the three kickoffs, I would say, kick off in conjunction with Dub Zone.
Are we not going to talk about Dub Zone?
I haven't actually had a chance to have a look at it yet. So,
okay.
Have you guys had a chance to look at it?
Yeah, I watched Dub Zone. I enjoyed Dub Zone. Oscar watched it as well. We actually watched it together, in fact.
What a world.
With Josh Parrish and Nick Debano. I liked it. It's a good offering for someone who doesn't necessarily want to, just pay attention to one game. Also a good product for someone who maybe wants to learn a little bit more about the league, because you can sort of take bits and pieces for each of the three games that are being played. And, when you've got someone like Teo on the panel who is a font of knowledge, you're always going to pick up a nugget or two about a player that you didn't already know. So, yeah, good fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what machinations and what twists and turns it takes as the season goes on.
No, I'm sure it's going to be great, and I can't. When I don't have a game, I will definitely have a look at it more closely. But the other game on the other weekend was Wellington versus City, which City came out comfortable winners, and a real masterclass from Maria Rojas, Oscar.
Yeah, it certainly was. I felt like the first half an hour Wellington were brilliant, which I think was really a product of the enthusiasm and the zeal that comes with playing their first ever professional game in New Zealand. So that they came out with a lot of energy. They're a young team. There's a lot of Kiwis in that side. And so that's what kind of, I think, propelled them to that really impressive start. And I really liked what I saw from them. I think, although not one of the younger players, I think Betsy Hassett was throughout the game sensational.
Yeah, she was really good.
She's just a class above, really. And I think that her presence in that team will be super, super valuable for Wellington moving forward this season. But then as the game wore on and as that enthusiasm kind of drained for Wellington, I think that Melbourne City just gradually used their superior experience and also just pure quality to kind of overrun them.
You speak about experience, but there are a lot of young players in this side, and it's like they've had this system for a while with Rado, and obviously they're going to lose Rado for
an indeterminate period of time at this point.
I'm not quite sure. So, but
this was Dario's, managerial bow.
Yeah. So in terms of players like Briley Henry, Karen Torpy, and
Daniela Garlich as well.
Yeah, and Naomi Chima. How do you think those younger players went?
How did the younger players go? Yeah. Look, I think. Look, I think it's a fair point that you brought up, Pokuah, and that they have a really nice mix. So, because they do clearly have experience in, obviously they've got Rojas for a little bit. They've got someone like Rihanna Pollicino, who's been around for a long time. Leah Davidson's been doing this for a significant period. Katie Bowen, obviously. So throughout the pitch, they've got those experienced heads, which perhaps a side like Wellington doesn't, was really the point that I was making. In terms of the younger players, look, I think it's really interesting to see how the system is working. I thought Daniela Garlich worked her way into the game. I thought that she looked a little bit lost for me at the very beginning, but gradually she started to find her feet and she looked really promising. She's so tall for someone so young. She just towers above the rest of the competition and looks like such an athlete. And for me, that's really exciting to see how she can grow with the experience of playing a full season. Amina Ekic, I thought, looked really dangerous.
Just a shame about her finishing, really.
Oh, that's right. She should have had at least one goal, probably two or three. She was very proactive and got heavily involved. So, and look, at the back, I didn't think in the end that someone like Naomi Shinema actually did a whole lot for most of the game, because particularly the second half was played almost entirely in Wellington's half of the field.
Yeah, Lockie, how did you see that game?
Well, I saw it similarly to Oscar. I thought, as he said, the 30 minutes, the opening 30, I thought Wellington were very, very competitive, but once they maybe lost that early zeal, that early energy, and Melbourne City started to become a bit more dominant, I think that placed more pressure on what is maybe a slightly, or was in this game a slightly weak Wellington Phoenix defence, and they did crack. They did crack a little bit. Main thing, or rather person I want to talk about though, was Rihanna Policina. I mean, I was
another friend of the show.
But I was pretty high on her last season. As
we had her on the show last season.
I'm aware. I know that's what friend of the show means.
I just want you to
and
clarify.
that obviously Francesca Iermano is number one friend of the show.
Doesn't mean we don't have other guests. We love all that.
Other people can challenge for Franny's throne. She might not like it, but it's an open forum.
Is this just a recency bias thing? Is it whoever was most recently on?
I think is she the only double feature?
No.
Well, Talks
has been on multiple times.
Talks is arguably Talks is number one friend of the show.
Honestly, Talks is up there. He's up there.
It's just Western United.
Might have to have a title belt fight or something.
We don't.
I wouldn't want to see them fighting.
We don't have favourites. We just have
sad.
Guests who come on.
We should have number ones.
Just number ones. It's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Best friends. Who doesn't have number one
Anyway, someone who's in the mix is Rihanna Policina, and I was pretty high on her as an attacking midfield talent last season. And I saw nothing from this game that makes me want to sell my stock.
Her futsal skills are coming out.
Oh yeah, can I just say I've actually been watching the Futsal Victoria streams where she does play. She's really good, man. Like technically, like the close control. She's just such a joyous player to watch, and that I think the second goal that she scored in this game was just. It was like the curling effort off the post. Just brilliant. If anything, I'd go back and buy more Rihanna Policina stocks, even if they're at a slightly inflated price.
Well, it's interesting because she's playing a different role this season, both, positionally, but also in terms of the squad as a whole, because now, much more so than last season, she's, particularly at this start when you're missing someone like Hannah Wilkinson, being asked to lead and guide this group of players. And
I don't hate it, though.
No, and well, based on our game of evidence so far, she seems to have stepped up to that plate very, very effectively, and as you say, also continues to perform on the pitch.
But Maria Rojas coming in as a
it must be nice for Melbourne City.
No, it's just very nice. But an injury what's the official term?
Injury replacement player.
Yeah, but she had some. Like, honestly, she was turning so much. I thought, do you know those? I don't know that you guys would know, but do you know that you get the little. You get a toy and like you'd open. It's like the ballerinas come out and they just do lots of turns. She was doing some.
Why would we not know?
I don't know. Did you get?
Do you think we just didn't grow up with toys or something?
I don't know if you had those.
We were kids too. I know we seem really cynical and like bitter and twisted.
I just didn't know if you had those toys. Okay.
There was a time where Oscar and I used to play.
Yeah. But she was just some like really beautiful turns.
I had Lego, okay?
Sure you did. She had some beautiful turns and just seemed to have her way with the defence and just found herself in lots of space. How crucial is it for them that they get the most out of a player like that while Hannah Wilkinson is out?
Well, I think it's very important because you think of how influential Hannah Wilkinson was when she was involved after she signed. Was it like midway through the season last year when she came in?
No.
Or was it the start of the season?
From the start.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, she was just great the whole time.
She did leave for a little bit and come back.
Yeah. Sorry, that's what I'm thinking about. Well, like when she returned, she sort of went to sort of another level. I mean, she was so important. If Maria Rojas is her injury replacement player, you're expecting or at least hoping for the same level of impact, and she certainly delivered that on the opening game. How sustainable that is, it remains to be seen, particularly because Hannah Wilkinson was just so good. But yeah, it was a perfect start.
Just want to touch on one more thing before we head on to the other game of the weekend, the last game of the weekend. Sally James is in goals instead of Bubs. So that's obviously a big change from last season. Bubs had a great season.
I'm just going to get ahead of the story potentially here. I think Bubs might have been carrying an injury or a knock. That's what I heard. So that might have influenced the starting.
No, because I was just wondering, because when I saw it, because obviously I wasn't focused a lot on this game this weekend, but just having her in, she doesn't really had played as much. Sally James, she's still got a lot to develop, but how did you just see her performance? Obviously, she probably didn't have a lot to do because Wellington didn't get up there a lot, but What are you seeing from Sally James?
Yeah, well, as you say, it's hard to read too much into Sally James's performance because other than the first half an hour, she wasn't particularly involved. When she was involved, she looked comfortable. She looked confident. She's a good goalkeeper. We know that already. I'm excited to see her perhaps get more game time this season because, of course, she has had her injury struggles over the last year or two. I think she's a really promising goalkeeper. We saw that before when she was at Canberra, for example, and you know, she looks settled. She's going to be good. I'm optimistic about what Sally James can do for Melbourne City. And just before we do move on, I do feel it's right to just touch on Wellington just for a couple seconds more. We mentioned how good Betsy Hassett was. I thought Michaela Foster was also exciting. She showed signs of promise, which were nice to see. Looking at the back, Kate Taylor, we know how wonderful she was last season alongside Mackenzie Barron. They made a really impressive central partnership. Wasn't Kate Taylor's best game, was turned by Rojas twice in a situation where, you know, you had to kind of know that was coming. So I don't think that was Kate Taylor's best game, which was unfortunate for her because she is a really good, promising young defender. So I'm interested to see how she responds to that and what she learns from being completely outclassed by Rojas.
I have one more thing, and I feel like it would be wrong not to mention the crowd as well.
Yes.
I feel like that was almost the most important part of this game, and we nearly let it
nearly missed it.
Slip by with recognition. What was it? I think 5,000 total in attendance, which is the record for an A-League women's fixture. And yeah, it like I was a bit sort of concerned to start the game because I was like, oh, it looks a little quiet. I kind of thought people would be more hyped for, you know, the return of this, or well, the introduction of this team to New Zealand. And ultimately in the end, it did fill out and it looked cool. No, it sounded cool. And 5,000 is awesome. It kind of makes you wish it could have been in a smaller ground so we could have got to sort of have them packed in. But no, it was still awesome.
No, absolutely. And I think what Wellington missed last season and not playing at home, and it was just kind of just a bunch of players on a travelling, just constantly travelling. But to have them at home and that crowd show out in the first time is nice. Yeah,
and it was something that Jason Pine mentioned on the on his commentary of the game is like when they have a difficult loss, so when they have a loss by a few goals like they did today, did on the day, well, they don't have to just sort of go back to a motel and contemplate the meaning of life. They can go back to their family, their partner, their friends, and do some stuff that's actually going to lift their spirits. And it's 10 minutes away rather than several hours.
And for 5,213 was the number.
Thank you, Oscar.
But yeah, I think the crowd is such a huge deal, and it's what this competition brings that pretty much no other competition in the world brings, which is its bigger picture storylines. The fact that so often it's about so much more than purely than purely what happened on the pitch, and Sunday was a prime example of that.
Yeah, and to finish off the weekend, dream debut for Amelia Murray, 88th minute winner against Sydney FC, who honestly, when I was looking back at that game, I'm so surprised they did not score more. They had so many opportunities going forward, but they just, every time it just seemed to get away from them. They had a few shots go wide and a little bit of sloppy play in that final third at times. I think Princess Abini had a good opportunity.
She had a couple.
Yeah,
she had a couple. She didn't have her best game.
So, but it's good to see her getting in dangerous areas. I think that's what you need her to be lively. But they were just kind of, it almost like they were in a bit of haze from the end of last season.
Yeah.
And they weren't fully clicking because that front three, obviously with Remy coming back, last season was the best in the competition, evenly across them, because obviously City's was quite good, but it was quite centralised with the goals was coming from one player, was carrying that. But Adelaide United and captain of Dress Well, Coach Well, Play Well Society, Adrian Stenter, getting that W.
It's a society now.
Absolutely.
Building it. Okay.
Society.
Sorry, please.
What do you think it was? What did you think it was?
I just hadn't heard you use society before.
It is a society. You don't believe that if you dress well, you coach well, and then
I did not say that. I support your theory wholeheartedly. I think Adrian Stenter and Alex Aparkas are both excellent coaches and both dress well.
Shoe game fresh. But what did you guys think of the game?
Well, I thought it was quite a slow burner, to be honest with you. I felt like it was played in many respects, particularly in the kind of opening 60, 70 minutes or so, with the weight of two teams who know that at least their internal expectations are to do quite well and go quite deep this season. And I think that led to maybe a tentativeness that we didn't see in a handful of the other games this season. I still thought Sydney were much the better side. I see Pokuah shaking her head. I'm not sure if she's...
No, I wasn't shaking my head.
I thought you were disagreeing with what I have to say, and I was like, we both saw the game. You're welcome to have a dissenting opinion. Anyway, I thought it was played with a bit of a hesitancy, but as the lines became a bit more stretched, it still looked increasingly like Sydney were going to be the side that won, but ultimately it was Adelaide with this kind of, well, I say perfect counter-attack, but it really was just a perfect ball.
Yeah, and it came from nowhere.
Yeah, it did. It was just like a sucker punch, out of the shadows.
I don't want to overemphasize the relevance of the conditions, but I think they did play a role in this game as well.
Yeah.
There was a strong wind, and I think we saw that the side playing with the wind was the better team in each half. And I think that is relevant. I think that the stadiums that we see the teams play in this competition mean that that's more of a factor than you would see otherwise. I think for me, the big takeaway was I was really excited by Adelaide's front line. Like, we already know what we're getting with Chelsea Dorber and Fiona Wirtz, but Xiao Yuyi was fantastic.
Yeah.
She was really, really good.
She was so fantastic. It upsets me that she was on the bench for my fantasy team. Very upsetting.
Poor decision making.
You didn't have a great debut week in fantasy. You had a bit of a heartbreak.
I actually had a terrible weekend, but thank you for reminding me. Thank you.
I said in fantasy.
Thank you for reminding me. I really appreciate it.
I just want the record to show, and it will show, because you can rewind the podcast and listen to it. I said in fantasy, just because you lost by a couple of points.
Just combining. Yeah, thank you for reminding me of my weekend.
I'm sorry, Pokuah.
Losco, what were you saying?
Anyway, for what it's worth, I got a win in fantasy. I scored 80 points.
That's really why we're here at the end of the day.
Exactly.
So yeah, when you say for what it's worth everything. That's what it's all about.
To me, and very little to the other two people on the show. Is the
Xiao Yuyi was fantastic though. She offers something that so few players in the competition offer. We saw that in the limited time that she was, from the limited sample size that we've seen already, and I think that, you know, lots of people have been pretty high on Adelaide heading into the season, and I feel like that was justified based on what we saw on the weekend, even though it ultimately relied on a long ball from nowhere, which Amelia Murray happened to get ahead on.
What a long ball out of nowhere it was, though, Oscar.
I will admit at this point in time that it was at about the 87th minute of this game that I walked out of my room to go do something. I can't even remember what I was going to do. I might have been going to get a snack. I can't remember.
That's so weird.
And I walked back because it looked like there could be a goal coming, but not
it was,
really.
Can I ask,
but it was going Sydney's way, and it was a stoppage, and I went, hey, it's going to take a little while before the play gets underway again.
My issue with you is not that, like, you've gone and got up. It's just that it was the 88th minute. Like,
I was about to get really personal.
It's so late in the game. Like, you might as well just wait. I don't understand why you've gotten up.
And I didn't leave for the specific reason that I was like, I can feel my spidey sense for like a late goal was tingling.
Sorry?
Did you also have a bad weekend, Oscar? Is that why you got up and left?
I was like, I'm so done. I just need to leave at this point in time. I don't know why I got up and left. It had, as like you said, it had been a slow burn of a game. I was pessimistic that there would be a goal at the end. It looked like it would be a game where they both huffed and puffed and nothing ever happened. So I thought I could take the risk of leaving for a minute, and I will not be doing that again this season.
The football gods punish you for these misgivings.
No,
you have to understand that.
This is my thing. You get up from, were you watching it on your TV?
bold of you to assume I have a TV.
Laptop. Sorry, you've got a few houses. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about.
I was watching it on my computer.
You're on your computer. So, like, why wouldn't you get it up on your phone so, like, you had it with you?
Also, you can take a laptop with you into another room.
I was gone for 45 seconds. I'm gradually reducing the amount of time I was out of the room.
Seriously, it'd be like 1 second.
We started with 90 seconds. I think then we went to 60 now, but 45. I was out of the room for like 45 seconds. I did not think it was worth it. If I was going to grab something, I didn't want to be balancing my laptop and the other thing I was going to grab. That's...
Well, you know what?
Oscar, just to admit you made a mistake.
I admitted that from the start. I'm being interrogated on this mistake that I made, and I acknowledge it was a mistake.
No, fair enough.
I think it was a rightful interrogation.
I think we need to leave it there because we need to leave it there.
Otherwise, Oscar might get upset.
Yeah.
Charlie Rule played in midfield, just by the way, just as another point of interest.
Oh,
I was wondering if you had any...
doesn't she play? Goalkeeper,
I guess.
Yeah.
She's played all over, really.
Well, she was a striker at the Women's World Cup. She was a fullback last season.
And I was curious as to whether either of you had any thoughts on her position there, whether you
I still don't know. I'm still yet to figure out what her best position is. So I think in a side like Sydney, they have the flexibility to play her in multiple positions because they've got players to cover for maybe her learning or trying to figure it out. But I don't know if it's what cost them the game last weekend, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happened again. Okay. I think she can play in a lot of different positions, but I don't quite know what her best position is just yet.
I have no strong thoughts, to be frank.
Okay.
Do you have strong thoughts?
No. Great. No, I was...
Fantastic, Osa. Appreciate that, man.
Thanks.
I kid.
Thanks for rocking up.
No. But it was great to have you all join us for another edition of Radio Dub. Can catch it on, anywhere really. SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere.
Pocket Cast.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
I always like to... there will be some people, hopefully, who have heard of Pocket Cast.
Anywhere, everywhere you can listen to us. We'll be back again some point where we'll figure it out. But bye for now.
Pickett, she lays it off. Teresa Polias. It's an absolute peach. Is driving. What a hit from Melina Reyes. Wow. And Sam Kerr has a hat-trick. Meet him out. 1-0. This is a funk fest. Someone's from the jump. Yo, I bust them in the eye. And then I'll take the bump home. Feel it.